Welcome to the On a Mission Mojo podcast, where I have the pleasure of interviewing impact driven founders, entrepreneurs, authors, and business experts who are actively working to create a positive difference in our world. I'm your host, Lori Young, a branding specialist, certified master marketer, and a passionate advocate for brands that possess heart, soul, and an unwavering commitment to drive change for humanity. It takes grit, a visionary mindset, and an abundance of mojo to navigate this journey. And the stories I share will undoubtedly ignite your passion. If you're seeking an infusion of inspiration, motivation, and valuable insights to amplify your impact, let's dive right in. Okay, welcome to episode 10 of the On a Mission Mojo podcast. I have a very inspiring guest with me today that is just doing some amazing work in this world and such important work, given that we are in 2024 and all of the, challenges that children face in school today. So I want to introduce to you Rasheda Williams. She is the Chief Empowering Officer and founder of Empowered Flower Girl. And I'm going to let her explain to you what is Empowered Flower Girl and share more about her mission. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Lori. Thank you for that introduction. And I am truly honored to be able to connect with you and your listeners and viewers on this platform. So I definitely appreciate you and admire what you're doing. So thank you. Empowered Flower Girl is a social enterprise that is on a mission to transform the way young people relate to one another and themselves. I like to emphasize themselves as well because in their growth and development process, they're trying to figure things out and they're trying to relate to one another, and they have challenges with that. Oftentimes because they don't focus on the relationship that they have with themselves. And so a big part of the work that I do with Empowered Flower Girl is helping them to live above the challenges they may face in and out of the classroom, from cyberbullying to societal pressure. So ultimately, they can make a powerful difference in the world. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that young people have the resources and tools as well as support that they need to be thriving adults. And they really need adults in their lives who care about them and who show up for them.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that because, and we can get more into this, but I have two boys, so I don't have girls, but, and you work just with girls, right?
Actually, Empowered Flower Girl works with youth regardless of gender.
Okay.
Yeah, if you identify as female, non-binary, identify as male, we do have some gender-specific programs for female identifying youth. However, we have several programs, and the work that I do in schools and communities, I often work with parents as well. So youth and adults, regardless of gender.
Got it. Okay. So tell me, I guess, a little bit about how this got started for you. I'd love to hear your story, just kind of your background and why you decided to start this social enterprise.
So it's interesting, the journey that I had in starting Empowered Flower Girl. I often tell people that Empowered Flower Girl wasn't something that I had intended to start or launch. I was divinely inspired to do it, and I was led here. Actually, I had been a mentor for several years, starting in my senior year in college. I actually became a mentor because I was going through some challenges in my life. I was experiencing some grief and loss issues after losing my aunt. She and her husband raised me from the time I was a tween up until their passing. And I really wanted to take the focus off myself and the challenges that I was facing and focus on someone else, to try to bring joy and inspiration to someone else's life, because I figured that would also help boost how I was feeling about myself and my situation. And so I said, well, how about I become a mentor? I saw an
Okay.
ad. I saw an ad in the local paper actually, and they were looking
For
for volunteers.
mentors?
Yes, believe it or
Okay.
not, for
Okay.
mentors. They were looking for
Okay.
volunteer mentors, and it was an amazing organization. Actually, the organization is still around to this day. They do incredible work in the Detroit area. It's
Mm-hmm.
called Alternatives for Girls, and
Okay.
I started mentoring with the organization, and I started with not one but three girls.
Okay.
So I took on that. I was a little ambitious and took on mentoring three girls.
Mm-hmm.
All well, they were between 5 and 6 years old.
Oh, really? So they're young.
Yes, they were young.
Okay.
And actually one was turning 7.
Mm-hmm.
They were still very much young. And
Mm-hmm.
at the time, I had tween nieces.
Okay.
My nieces were all three of them were tweens at the time. So I had the three mentees, my three nieces, and um, it was an awesome experience. Challenging at
Mm-hmm.
times, trying to keep three energetic girls entertained.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they would play little tricks on me, like they would pretend that they got lost.
Oh, great. What
Yeah,
a
yeah,
trick.
yeah. They would pretend that they got lost, and I would freak out, and then they would come back.
Right.
Oh, we fooled you.
Oh my gosh. That's like the worst nightmare of any parent or mentor is losing their kids, right?
Exactly, exactly. But it was all fun. So they kept me on my
Mm-hmm.
toes and kept me
Mm-hmm.
energized, to say the least. But it was a rewarding experience, and as I continued volunteering with the organization, they would have me speak and share my experiences with the other mentors. And
Mm-hmm.
I started to do more work in coaching and helping those who were working with youth, right? And really giving them some pointers as an experienced mentor and helping newer mentors. And then also a couple of the parents had requested that I come to their school for career day. And they were like, can you come speak
Mm.
to the students at our school? And then
Mm-hmm.
another one asked to speak to the girls at the school. And after that, I started thinking, wow, I really need to do something more formalized and
Sure.
and
Mm-hmm.
perhaps develop a curriculum or some sort of program, because I'll never
Mm-hmm.
forget the moment that it caught me off guard, but it also had the wheels turning. Someone asked, well, how much do you charge for your programs?
Hmm.
And
Okay.
at that time, I was a volunteer. I didn't have
Sure.
a company. I didn't have an LLC or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that. And so I said, well, I don't. And I had to
Mm.
really go back and think about that. So
Mm-hmm.
originally, I was planning to write a book. I was going to
Okay.
write a book to help the girls in their journey, the challenges that they were facing with self esteem and some
Mm-hmm.
relational challenges that they were having. One of my mentees, she was pretty feisty. She's short like me, and she's smaller than a lot of the kids in her grade. And so sometimes she would have some unpleasant experiences
Mm-hmm.
overcompensating for her smaller stature, and she would get in
Okay.
trouble.
Okay.
She would get in trouble sometimes, and so I was really trying to do something to help girls like her and my
Mm-hmm.
nieces who were facing those type of challenges, but also opportunities that they have as girls and young women who are truly powerful, and they don't even realize their power. So I wanted to write the
Right.
book to help them and really bring out those skills and attributes. And so I wrote the manuscript for my book, which I didn't publish until about 5 years later.
Okay.
But I did eventually publish "Be Empowered:
Good for you. Good for
How to Live
you.
Above and Beyond Life's Drama." Thank you so much. But really, I decided that I am going to formalize a program, and I came up with Empowered Flower Girl to
Mm-hmm.
help young people, to give them the resources and support that they need to grow and develop into uh, citizens who are contributing to our society. And
Mm-hmm.
I I went ahead and did that in 2010, and the rest is history.
Wow. So this has been going on for 14 years now, then.
Yes, so 14 years in July.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. That's awesome. So let's talk, I guess, a little bit about what are our youth facing today in school. I have two boys, and they're both grown. One's 32, one's 22, and it's been a while since my 32-year-old has been in school. I vividly remember what my younger one went through. He was bullied from the time he was in early elementary school all the way through high school. And it probably wasn't until college that the bullying actually stopped, and even kind of stopped. And he was able to establish a kind of core group of friends that he felt like, wow, okay, I'm accepted for who I am. So let's talk about like what's going on in schools today. What's going on with our youth that is creating all these challenges?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because there are so many challenges that young people are facing in the digital age. 21st
Mm-hmm.
century tweens and teens, they have spent their entire lives, right, connected, through
Right.
these smartphones, these devices here, right? So they
Mm-hmm.
have spent their entire lives um, being bombarded with information. I call it the
Mm-hmm.
too much information age, and sometimes
Okay.
that could be overwhelming for young people.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen an increase, especially since the onset of the pandemic. We've seen an increase in the number of cyberbullying incidents that are happening
Mm-hmm.
globally. Students in the United States, North America, are facing challenges, but also there is a huge problem with bullying and cyberbullying in India. I learned about
Really? Wow.
yes, I learned
Okay.
about reports of cyberbullying cases that have happened. Sometimes it goes beyond cyberbullying. There's been an uptick in the number of hate speech related incidences, as well as cyber stalking. So our young
Mm.
people are facing some challenges that many of us may have never imagined. In the classroom, sometimes their relationships that they have with each other, their interactions in the classroom can be unfriendly or
Mm-hmm.
unkind. And
Mm-hmm.
those interactions in person often translate to them maybe being harassed at home, whether that's social media or receiving threatening or mean text, right? So
Mm.
oftentimes young people really have not been trained on how to utilize social media. It doesn't come with the instruction guide, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Right.
some of the social media companies are trying to do better in
Mm-hmm.
educating young people about the dangers of their online interactions, but also how to use social media for good. But oftentimes they're just giving them exposure, right, to this
Right.
powerful tool without any guidance. And I think that we, as parents, as mentors, as relatives, and as youth advocates, we
Mm-hmm.
have to really have important conversations with the young people in our families and communities, because if we don't really know what's happening in their lives and who they're engaging with,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, we have seen some of the instances where they're engaging with people online and they meet up with them in person, and
Oh.
they go missing, or
Right.
they may actually be victims of identity theft. Some young people don't think about that, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you can be 13 years old and have your entire identity stolen.
Wow.
So that's another thing that we don't think about as well with young people, and in the number of sextortion cases that have happened. In case people aren't familiar with sextortion, is when, for example, if two young people are sending photos to one another,
Mm-hmm.
um, sometimes a young person think that they're engaging with another young person. They may have met them on an online dating site or even an online gaming site, and
Right.
they think they're exchanging photos, information, videos with someone else their age, but they
Okay.
may actually be engaging with someone in another country who is an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, especially if there's some sort of explicit images that they've shared,
Mm-hmm.
that person will take that photo and threaten to use that against the child,
Wow.
and will say, well, if you don't send us $250, for instance, if you
Right.
don't send us, the money, we
Mm-hmm.
will post this on all your social media sites. We'll tell your parents, those sort of things. And often young people don't realize that that is a crime, and it's
Right.
sex. It's in the category of sextortion.
Right.
These type of cyber criminals are out there, and they're targeting not only
Oh,
adults
yes.
but also children as well. So there are so many different challenges that they're facing, especially in the realm of their online interactions.
Mm-hmm.
And those are just some of the challenges they face. But also, I'd like to remind people that they have incredible opportunities as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could use social media for good, and that's one of the things that we like to focus on in Empowered Flower Girl: how to keep young people safe, smart, and kind online.
Okay. So let's talk about, I guess, what is the best way, I think, for parents, I think, to be involved. I have a nephew who's 12, gonna be maybe he's 13 now. Um, what's the best way to like protect us? Like, what do they need to be learning right now to, like you said, kind of protect themselves from all of this? How can parents be more involved? Because I know, just like I know as a parent, that there's probably a million things that happened to my son, or that was said to my son or whatever, that he never shared with me. Right. And kids, I think, are afraid, right, to share these kind of things. They don't want to get in trouble, kind of like you said, like, oh my gosh, they want $250 from me, but I've shared this, this indecent photo, and I don't want my parents to know that I've done this, right? What can we do?
That is an excellent question. Because if you really think about it, oftentimes young people aren't sharing information with their parents or caregivers or other relatives because they do feel a level of shame. They
Mm-hmm.
feel that they will get punished, or they feel that their parent will expose them. And we have seen examples of parents, if their children are behaving badly in school or with their siblings or something like that, they'll record videos of them. I've even seen some damage videos that are so damaging to a child's self-esteem.
Oh my
A mother,
gosh.
a mother, her daughter was being a mean girl, and the mother cut her daughter's hair and filmed it.
uh,
And those type of things, I think, have the opposite impact and effect that parents think.
yes.
So just having a level of empathy for
Mm-hmm.
young people, because they are
Mm-hmm.
facing so many challenges in this environment. And since the pandemic, I mean, they've experienced a global pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
They often have to worry about, hey, am I going to go to school and have to be on lockdown at school? They're facing these
Right.
challenges. They have active
Mm-hmm.
shooter drills, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
the anxiety is high.
Mm-hmm.
And we, as parents and caregivers, we have to really look at how are we being in relation to our interactions with the youth in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Are we being transparent with them about some of our fears and
Mm-hmm.
concerns, not necessarily putting them on the child as a burden, but also
Sure.
letting the parents know, if I'm asking you where you're going after school, it's because I'm concerned. I want to know where you
Sure.
are. It's not about being in your business or being nosy. You're my child. I
Mm-hmm.
have a legal responsibility to take care of you.
Right.
And sometimes parents don't realize they can have these authentic conversations with young
Mm-hmm.
people. Young people, they have been exposed to so much. So some of these conversations that we as adults think, oh, it's going to be too much for the child. Uh, Depending on your child and their level of development, these are
Mm-hmm.
the type of conversations you need to have with them. Open and honest conversations, asking them about their friends.
Mm-hmm.
Who are your friends? You're going to spend the night at your friend's house. Meet the parents first. These sorts of
Right.
things. Who's all going to be there at the house? These are things
Mm-hmm.
that, as parents and caregivers and older relatives, we need to know these things. So I think that having these conversations with our youth and not being afraid to actually be the parent and
Mm-hmm.
not wanting to be a bestie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yes, that's
while
yes.
we can have close
Mm-hmm.
relationships with them, and we want to enjoy our time with the youth in our lives, but we also have a responsibility for them and their well-being, right? So we have to get a little nosy. I don't say that it's being nosy, or as some of the kids say, they have the term helicopter parenting and things of that nature. While
Mm-hmm.
yeah, while some parents are a little extra,
Mm-hmm.
I will say that it's being a proactive parent. It's proactive
Mm-hmm.
parenting.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do it to save their lives. I mean, having young people who are aware, just
Mm-hmm.
them knowing about what's out there, that
Right.
trafficking is real. So yes, I'm going to be concerned when you're
Mm-hmm.
online interacting with people who we don't know.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
they have to know these things.
So you and I both know that it can be hard to get tweens and teens to open up and talk, right? What kind of tips can you share for parents, mentors, teachers, anyone that's dealing with these to create the kind of environment that encourages these conversations? Like, oftentimes you'll ask a kid, how was your day? Fine. It's like it goes nowhere, right? And I found, at least with my boys, a lot of times, being, it's different for boys and girls, but I found with boys, like, being in movement and like kind of doing things together, they would tend to start to talk. Or like teens, I mean, it's a standard joke, like they don't want to talk to you all day long, and then 11 o'clock at night they're like chatterboxes. Like, hey mom, let's talk about this, and you're like, oh my god, I'm so tired now.
Yes.
So how can parents like encourage these kinds of conversations? Because you're right, they're hard. Like, even my son, like, I think about my son in college, and we have the talk, like, it's like, Ian, don't drink a drink that someone has given to you.
Mhm.
Like, don't try drugs thinking that it could be safe. It'll probably be fine. I said, because you never know when someone's going to put something in your
That's
drink.
right.
You never know when that drug's going to be laced with fentanyl and it's going to instantly kill you. I mean, these are real conversations that people may not want to have because they're scary, but like you said, they're so important. So how do we have this open dialogue with our kids and make them feel comfortable enough that they know that they can talk to us about anything?
Yes, those are very necessary conversations to have,
Mm-hmm.
life-saving conversations
Mm-hmm.
to have for sure. Well, one of the things that I encourage parents and mentors, teachers to do is listen without judgment. Now
Mm-hmm.
that could be hard,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
listening oftentimes is one of the best tools that we have. It's one of the best
Mm-hmm.
gifts, I would say. It's
Mm-hmm.
a gift to be able to listen with an empathetic,
Mm-hmm.
non-judgmental ear.
Yes.
We often want to save them. We
Mm-hmm.
don't want them to, get in trouble. We don't
Mm-hmm.
want them to experience certain things.
Pain.
So
Mm-hmm.
what we have to do is be vulnerable enough
Mm-hmm.
to share our life experiences. And this is something
Mm.
I definitely encourage mentors to do, because oftentimes when people are thinking of becoming mentors, they think they have to be perfect. They think that
Mm-hmm.
they have to have every T crossed, every I dotted. They have to have accolades and degrees and all of these things to be a good mentor.
Right.
When actually you're more relatable,
Hmm.
when you share who you are.
Right.
When you share your experiences, when you share some of the challenges you face and how you've overcome them. So you're not like this whole I don't know, I can't think of the word to call it, right, but you're not some superhero or someone that's
Hmm.
untouchable, some
Hmm.
god that they can't even have
Right.
access to because you're so perfect and they can't relate.
Right.
And
Hmm.
oftentimes they'll shut down, like, well, mom or dad, you wouldn't understand because you never had a challenge in your life. I've heard some
Right.
kids say that to their parents, like, oh, well, just because you grew up and you were perfect. And sometimes
Mm.
uh, we all
Yeah.
know someone, maybe
Hmm.
not us, but we all know someone who has compared their generation to their child's generation. Oh, my
Hmm.
generation, we had to endure so much
Right.
more, and you all are soft and you just don't get it. You know,
Hmm.
I think that we have to be more conscious of what we're saying.
Hmm.
And again, when I talk about different ways of being, but stop the comparisons all the time because they won't open up.
Right.
And that's one thing to do, right? Let's stop
Hmm.
comparing ourselves and meet them where they are. But also, I would say to anyone who's trying to have deeper, more authentic conversations with the young people in their lives is to really give them the space to be fully self-expressed. Young people express themselves in different ways.
Hmm.
Yep, they may wait till 11 p.m.
Right.
to express themselves. Some young people would rather write this information in a journal. And I
Hmm.
bring that up because it's not always verbal, right? It could
Hmm.
be nonverbal, or some young people like to share some of the challenges that they're facing in different ways. I know for
Right.
me, when I was growing up in middle school, I had a teacher that gave us journals to write in,
Hmm.
and she actually did read our journal entries. Part of it was to make sure that our subject verb we had subject verb
Right.
agreement and that sort of thing
Hmm.
to make sure that hey, we could write a complete
Hmm.
sentence. But I think she also wanted to connect with us in a different way, and she
Hmm.
would read my journal. And at that time I was being teased and bullied relentlessly,
Mm.
like your son. I
Hmm.
had been excluded and ostracized quite a bit in middle school.
Sure.
It lasted for almost a year, and
Mm.
I wrote detailed accounts of everything.
Hmm.
I
Right.
didn't feel comfortable necessarily going to talk to
Hmm.
my teacher about it, but having her read the entries and respond back to me, that
Mm.
opened up space for me to come to her and talk to her about it. So some young people may express themselves through art, and that's why art therapy actually has become very popular, but also an effective way of expression. So
Hmm.
finding which ways young people also communicate. We do this at our jobs, right? If you worked in the professional field, people ask you, "What's your communication style?" Or
Hmm.
what is your preferred mode of communication? Where you like to do you prefer email or phone conversations? Right.
Right. Hmm.
These things can be applied in your households
Hmm.
as well for your
Right.
kids, your spouses, or whomever,
Right.
your
Hmm.
parents. So just really finding out how do they like to be communicated. Some young people are very cranky in the morning, so trying to have a full conversation in the
Right.
morning, no, it's not going to happen.
Right. Right. So, I'm thinking about these kids and the work that you do, and I'm just thinking about like the future generation and how we can help them um, develop their character in a way that helps, that better equips them, right, to be empowered in our next generation, right? So, I guess what skills do you feel like kids are lacking today that parents, teachers, mentors, whomever can work with these kids to like better develop them? Like, what are those skills that you really feel will empower them that they're struggling with, I guess, today?
Sure. Well, I think that some of the things that they're struggling with often have to do with being isolated. Especially,
Okay.
especially we've seen during the pandemic that they're having some challenges. They were away from their friends and their friend groups for a while. Some young people haven't returned back to the classroom. Just having very social interactions. It's very important that they do have some level of social interactions. And some people have said, oh, okay, well, if we homeschool the kids, they're not going to have social interactions. But that's not true. A lot of homeschool groups actually, a lot of parents who homeschool have their children involved in groups, and they do group activities. They go on field trips together. Having them to be around other young people, their peers, is very important. And being able to have interactions where they have the opportunity to get to know one another, having a good vibe tribe, because I feel like
I like that vibe tribe.
Having a good vibe tribe is important for me as an adult, and it's definitely important for young people to have. Having those in their lives who are supportive, including peers. It's important to have supportive adults as well, but having peers who they can trust, as well as those who have common experiences. So one of the things that we do in our programs at Empower Flower Girl, our Chica Chat program, I notice this the most, because in order for young people to really get to the point where, they're not bullying one another, where they're not excluding each other, they have to get to know one another. And I feel that that's one of the biggest challenges, and why some young people act out with the bullying, cyberbullying, and social exclusion, is because they don't truly know one another.
Sure.
So having the skills to be able to connect with and meet with other young people, networking skills, skills to help them develop these friendships, it can be tough. It can be tough as they're growing and developing and trying to figure out even where they belong. But giving them an opportunity to be able to engage with other young people, even if it's after school, having them enrolled in some sort of extracurricular activity, sports is always great, arts, as well as any community service endeavors. Community service definitely helps build up some of these social skills that I think are vitally important for young people as they transition from adolescence to adulthood. Those are the skills that they're also going to need to be successful in the workplace or in business. Right. So we always make sure that in our programs that young people have the opportunity to be fully self-expressed and heard. And we really like to engage them in activities where they're peeling those layers of the onion off, that they're getting to the core of one another. And, they create all of the ground rules or the norms for the day. And it really helps them to be comfortable and to be vulnerable with one another, so they know their peers are going through some of the same challenges that they're going through. They may feel alone. Oftentimes that's what happens. They really feel alone. Like, I'm the only one whose parents got divorced, or I'm the only one who is feeling like, will my family ever be able to move out of this neighborhood? Are we ever going to have an opportunity to pursue our dreams, because we don't even have the resources? And I feel like, okay, I'm the only one in my neighborhood who's poor, or some students are facing homelessness, and they don't really know that others are going through some of these same issues. And I'll just never forget. I just want to give a quick scenario. In one of our Chica Chat sessions, we had the girls to write down questions. They write down the questions anonymously, and we answer them together. In fact, I let them answer the questions together. And in fact, as the adults in the room, we kind of fall back a little bit and allow them to support one another. But one of the young ladies had a question about her mother. And she was just saying, I feel like sometimes my mom, she doesn't really like me. I feel that she just doesn't want to deal with me. She isn't listening to me. And I don't know what to do, because I feel like, does she even want to be my mom?
Oh,
And I was surprised by the number of girls that have said, I felt that way about my dad as well. And
okay.
they offer each other advice. And,
Mm-hmm.
even though they ask the questions anonymously, the girls who are providing answers or support will even share their experience if they've had similar experience, or they'll give advice to one another. Uh, but the number of girls who came and shared their stories of feeling that way, and even one young lady said at first she was feeling that way, but then she and her mother, they got close. They started going to therapy
Okay.
together. One young lady shared that she and her mom were
Right.
going to therapy together, and you'd be surprised how they open up and
Mm-hmm.
support one another. And I think
Right.
that just transforms the climate in that classroom, but then that goes out into the entire school.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's talk, I guess, just a little bit. Let's kind of back up and like speak like more from a business standpoint and a
Sure.
mission standpoint, right? Your mission is so important. And, there's a lot of people out there doing really great things.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm curious about is like, what are some of the challenges, I guess, that you face in getting like visibility for your mission, or getting support for your mission so that you can continue to grow it and do even more good in the world?
It's definitely about visibility and being able to
Hmm.
be in the right spaces. And I guess it doesn't matter what type of business you're in, whether you're in manufacturing or automotive, or if you're in
Right.
the consulting field, or even if you have products, right? Just getting what you do in front of the right audience, right? I think that can be everyone's challenge in business.
Hmm.
Uh, but for me, it's really been finding the right connections in terms of those who are really mission based as well.
Hmm.
um, and that's why I really loved when I learned about your podcast and the work that you're doing, having other mission driven folks to be able to
Hmm.
collaborate and connect with.
Right.
Because this work that I'm doing, I can't do it alone, of course.
Sure.
There are a
Hmm.
number of different nonprofit organizations. I'm a consultant. We're a social enterprise, so we're not a nonprofit organization. But there are
Hmm.
so many nonprofit organizations out there that need resources, tools, and
Hmm.
support. And over the past 3 to 4 years, what we've been doing at Empower Flower Girl is really shifting. I was very conscious and very deliberate about uh, supporting youth advocates, because our young people, they definitely need support. This
Hmm.
is this is something that we all know and we can recognize. But what about those who work with young people, our teachers
Hmm.
and school counselors, those who are leading nonprofits,
Right.
the individuals who are mentors or wanting to volunteer in the youth empowerment space? Who's
Hmm.
supporting them? Who's giving them the tools that they need? And
Right.
who's helping them when they're having the challenging days and feel like giving up, right? So I've been doing a lot more work in supporting them, our youth
Hmm.
advocates, so that
Right.
they can be able to have the tools and resources and support they
Hmm.
need to do their job effectively.
Right.
And just getting in front of more of those individuals.
Hmm.
Uh, I think that one great thing that has been a success, based on that challenge, was being able to connect with associations,
Hmm.
after school associations, or associations of educators and education leadership, being able to connect with those sort of groups, and it
Hmm.
it took some time. Over
Right.
time you find, okay, what works. Do the cold calls work to the individuals, or do I go at a more macro level and look at these associations? And I found that, while some individual outreach makes sense, it
Hmm.
also makes more sense to connect with these larger groups that have memberships and individuals within their organization that are looking to either start a mentoring program or some
Right.
other youth focused uh, type of initiative. and
Right.
And I really think that building those relationships and having those collaborations, that's going to be key
Oh,
for the work.
100%.
Yeah.
2024 is going to be all about like partnerships and collaborations and building relationships, creating community.
Yes.
It's going to be
Creating
huge.
community.
Yes, it's going to be huge. When you're talking about like going to associations versus kind of individual outreach, it reminded me back when I ran my coaching practice, which was years ago. And I was just starting out. Like I coached moms and I was just starting out, and it was like, how do I find moms that I can coach, right? It's like one by one just felt so like overwhelming. And I just decided to start speaking. And and again, okay, I'm going to do some public speaking, and I'm going to do some, some talks around things that moms are facing today. That's great. And I started with like, okay, let me just go to like a local health club and advertise. I'm going to do this little, this little talk. I want to say I got 5 people that showed up, right? It was like nothing. But then it was like, it hit me. Let's go where all of the moms are already hanging out.
Yeah.
Right. And so I reached out to this group, kind of like an association called Mothers of Preschoolers, MOPS. I don't know if you ever heard of them before, but
Awesome.
Anyway, at that time, they were all meeting like in church groups, and there would be groups of anywhere from 20 to 100 moms in one room. Right. And so, of course, it's like, okay, let me just contact every single MOPS group in my area, which was like the Chicago area at the time. So that's huge. And let me just go talk to those people, and let me just educate them about, the challenges. Like, I started with a talk about guilt-free parenting. And that's how like my network grew, is by going where there's already a bunch of the kinds of people that you're trying to reach.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing that I think, not just myself, but others have to get out of is not wanting to toot your own horn or brag. And oftentimes that leads us to really not put ourselves out there, whether we don't want to put ourselves on video or show images of ourselves on social media, or maybe not nominating ourselves for awards. But I tell people all the time, you deserve accolades and attention for the good that you're doing in the world. Because if no one knows about your program, no one knows about your business, how are you really going to be making a difference? So I tell people it's a little selfish for you not to put yourself out there, because
absolutely
people are missing out on people are missing out on what you have to offer. And I told someone the other day, we were having a conversation, and I told her about an award, a women's award. And I said, you can nominate yourself. I can nominate you, but you can also nominate yourself. She said, well, I didn't think about that. I didn't think that I could nominate myself. I'm like, yes, you can. I didn't want to seem self-serving. Well, they accept self-nominations. It's fine.
Right, exactly.
They recognize that people are
It reminds me of, I don't know if you saw it like recently. I don't usually, like, my spouse is like totally into like pop culture and all of that. And I just kind of like once in a while I listen to them. But she was showing me this interview that Niecy Nash did. I don't even know what the award, that's how dumb I am.
No. It was the Emmys.
And she's like, I want to thank myself.
Yes.
And I'm just like, yeah. And then I saw another video, and she kind of explained, like, why did she thank herself? Right. And it's like, she was the one that believed in herself, right? She was the one sitting with herself when she was crying over, all of the naysayers, like in her life. Like, she was there for herself. And if we are not our biggest advocate, who is going to be? Right.
Exactly. Yep,
so
100%. So I definitely recommend that folks, if there's a 40 under 40 list or a 50 in their 50s list that you can nominate yourself for, go for a social impact hero award. Do it. Grants and scholarships and fellowships, apply for it all.
Yes, absolutely. Go out on a limb. Like that's a thing too. I think sometimes fear stops us from doing things. There was someone that I wanted on my podcast. She is the publisher of Best Holistic Life magazine, and she's doing really good things in the world. And I thought to myself, what's the chances of me actually being able to get her on my show, right? And I reached out to her and had a call with her, and I was so nervous. Like I was in that, like just pitch, like I was like, blah, with my pitch, and I was just like brace myself for the no. And she's like, yes, I would love to be on your show. And I'm like, what? Like what? And then it went further. She invited me to her show and invited me to submit an article for her magazine. And I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when you stretch out of your comfort zone. That's right. And you do what feels scary. And you have to. Like, I'm talking to all mission-driven founders, businesses out there. Your mission is important. What you're doing in the world is important. You need to put yourself out there and take chances for the greater good of the world.
That's right. And listen, and if you're not as comfortable doing it to start, yes, have someone else do it. It's fine. I have asked my aunt. I said, you know what? There's this award that I want to get. Do you mind filling out? Here's a nomination. Do you mind filling this out? Because she asked me, how can I support you? Now, when people ask you in your business, how can I support you? Don't be afraid to go back to them and let them know this is how you can support me. And when she asked a while back, how can I support you? Yes, I went to her and said, hey, can you nominate me for this award? Now I'm at the point where if it allows self-nominations, I'm going to do it. So definitely put yourself out there.
Yeah. So I always end the show, since we are on a Mission Mojo, asking guests like what you feel your mojo or magic superpower is in this world, and how do you maintain it so you can always be like at your best?
Yes, I really love that question. I definitely believe that my mojo or my superpower is empathy. Sometimes empathy can be a blessing or a burden at times.
Yes.
But just knowing how to protect your energy, I think those of us who are empaths, because I believe that a lot of people who are empathic are led to mission types of organizations or businesses, right? And it's definitely a superpower, just being able to tap in to people's energy, as well as being able to recognize their needs and things that they may not be telling you on a physical level, but on a metaphysical or spiritual level, being able to connect with people, I think is very important, not just to help them, but also for ourselves as well. So I would definitely say that superpower or mojo is the empathy that I have for people, whether they're adults or youth, and just being able to cultivate that. Some people don't think that empathy can be taught, but it can. I definitely think that, there are different strategies to develop it as well as to increase it.
Yeah, I can tell you're an empath. I'm a fellow empath as well. So like you said, it's a blessing and a curse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good though. It's such good mojo. Anyway, so thank you so much, Rasheda, for being here, and thank you for what you're doing in the world.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you keep on shining, and I will keep on watching this podcast and listening to it. I really enjoy it. It's positive energy. It's a good vibe tribe. All of your guests that I've listened to so far have been amazing. And it's just really a joy to be able to connect and network with amazing people who are being a light in this world. So thank you.
Yeah, that is my whole mission for the podcast it's just to highlight all of these amazing people in the world. You being one of them.
And you too.
Okay, thank you. That's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you for tuning in to the On a Mission Mojo podcast. Ready to dive into more incredible stories of people on a mission? Next week, I'll return with a fresh episode to ignite your passion for creating a better world. If you loved what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a glowing review, and spread the word to all your friends. Head over to onamissionbrands.com for more great episodes. Remember, the world needs your mojo, so go out there and let your brilliance shine.